On the Rave!
Hello, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. You're welcome back to the On the Rave podcast with me, Gav, and this man next to me.
I'm Addie.
Addie, how's it going?
It's alright. Here we are on episode 4.
Yeah.
Who would have thunk it?
Aye, so quickly after coming up with the idea as well. Just to get it out there early on, you can catch us at On the Rave on Twitter. You can catch us at On the Rave on Facebook. And of course, we are powered by Podbean, which is the best place to tune into our
Please
podcast.
like, review, and subscribe. It helps with the shit.
And of course, in our short history, we always seem to start with some rave. We're going with another viewer-nominated one. Addie, who picked the tune for today?
Mr. Paul Blackout. He's from Australia, which doesn't exist.
And he has selected the tune Don't Go by the Awesome 3. So let's start off with some Old-Skool.
Classic.
And there we go. That was played for Paul Blackout from all the way in Australia. That was Don't Go.
Big up, Paul. Pat misses you.
That was released in 1992 on Eternity Records and City Beat. So, we're sat here with another guest.
Legendary man.
Massive man on the local scene. Across to our right is Mr. Mudfoot Blaps. Sandy, how's it going?
Hello lads, how you doing? Thanks for having us here.
Good. Absolute pleasure. Do you want to just start by telling everyone a little bit about what you do in the world of music?
So, world of music, I like to have fun. That's pretty much what I do.
Good.
My vibe is, when it comes to playing and performing, I just want to have a good time. I want to enjoy it. I don't want to get it too serious. I don't want to stroke my chin. And therefore I like to get on the rave.
It's on the rave.
The flip side of that is also I like to see other people get involved and get inspired. So I run a lot of like youth projects and music projects around opening up opportunities predominantly for young people. But we're not age discriminant. If you've got an idea and a project and you need a little bit of help, I'll do what I can to point you in the right direction. And that's kind of my lot in life.
Amazing. You're also a DJ in Newcastle, as I just said, under the alias of Mudfoot Blaps. You play Old-Skool, breakbeat, hardcore, hip hop sometimes as well.
Yeah, I mean anything breaks. I love the breaks. I mean that's kind of been my journey, has been through that. So like everything from electro to hip hop to jungle and hardcore and anything like that. It's not to say I'm exclusively breaks. I do like a bit of 4 on the floor now and again, but to be honest, yeah, breaks and bass lines. That's my first love.
Yeah, cool. Speaking of first loves, why don't we just
That's a tenuous link. Oh, brilliant! That like
we'll just segue that one in.
It's as if we've done this before.
We'll segue that one into question one, and as always, Sandy, we want to know
influences.
Your early influences. So, who was it who listened to music in the house? Where are your early influences coming from?
Yeah, I mean, my influences are quite eclectic, really. My dad was obviously a big influence, as I guess, like most parents are for anyone growing up. There's always
my dad,
music.
My dad, as we discussed, was like he introduced me to music, but Addie's a bit disgusted at his dad's background.
I'll be honest, I'm 50-50 with my dad. he listened to a lot of crap, but there was a lot of good stuff in there as well.
See, I just had 100% crap.
And for a while I thought it was all crap until I sort of got old enough to kind of start digging through these record boxes and actually found some decent stuff and was like, Dad, why are you never playing this? But on the plus side, what he did play a lot of was a lot of jazz and stuff like that, and so a lot of jazz, gospel, kind of bordering on sort of soul and bluesy kind of stuff.
Nice.
So I kind of grew up listening and getting an appreciation for a lot of that kind of stuff. As I got a little bit older and started digging through the record collection, starting to find everything from kind of like the Crusaders through to Jean-Michel Jarre, and so that was really the kind of key influences. Jean-Michel Jarre was a big influence, kind of one of the first sort of musical memories I've got really of being about sort of 6 or 7 and kind of like starting to like see, seeing here Jean-Michel Jarre and kind of going, wow, this is the future really. The guy's playing music out of laser beams and stuff like that. It's quite impressive. And in fact the first album that I ever owned, I begged my dad for, which was the Zuluk album by Jean-Michel Jarre, which is an incredible album, which is like made up of recorded language, so different people speaking from like sort of across Europe, Inuit tribes, stuff like that, and then he created a whole album where there's like a narrative coming from these kind of broken down kind of vocal sounds. I quite like that. I've never been as much into songs as I am kind of more the music.
Yeah.
So I will tend to sort of more towards the instrumental side. And even within like sort of genres where I do like, obviously like hip hop, the message, the lyric is quite an important part, but it's the pattern that it creates. So I used to listen to a lot of like French hip hop and stuff like that. I love the rhythm and the flavour and the flow of it. Didn't necessarily know what they were saying, but it sounded good.
There's a couple of tracks like that are a bit hypnotic. You've got the one with DJ Guru, who does it with MC Solar.
Yeah.
And like he speaks in French, and God knows what he's saying. Well, no, the French know what he's saying. I don't know what he's saying. But just like not knowing it, but still being able to hear the flow and the rhythm in the different language and appreciating that's awesome.
Solar was one of the ones I first got into, and Alliance Ethnique and stuff like that. But I think even if you look at kind of like other bands or more traditional band music that I like, I would kind of say, like, from the indie scene, the band that really stood out for me, obviously the Happy Mondays, a bit of a sort of dance vibe, but the Stone Roses music I really like. And I think if you listen to Stone Roses, I think what drew me towards them was that, like, Ian Brown's vocals don't dominate. It's not like they've recorded a track and then whacked vocals over the top. They've treated these vocals like another instrument. It blends in there. It doesn't kind of ride above it. It's sort of the whole piece flows as a solid piece of music, and I think that's kind of always been had an appeal to me.
I'm always a bit like that. Like, I like to have, when I MC, I like to turn it down a little bit so that the music comes through more than what I come through. I'm there to highlight what's going on, not to be the main event, and I think Ian Brown's like that. I mean, obviously some of his solo stuff that he did is amazing as well. Fear's on my regular list of ones that I listen to.
Definitely.
Like, it's just one of those tracks. The video all being backwards on the BMX as well, which is pretty cool. So, like, is there any, like,
One
artist
track.
or one track that, like, really stands out to you as, like, your early influence?
I mean, there's a lot of music I could refer to, especially in the early 80s. I had a lot of friends who were kind of into heavy metal. Heavy metal was a big influence. There's so many different genres and styles, but I think the tune that really kind of set us on my way, I first heard when I was 8 years old, and I was going to a youth club, and a bunch of lads turned up in tracksuits with folded bits of cardboard, a massive boombox, and started playing electro. And the first tune that I got to know was Chaka Khan, I Feel For You.
Oh,
It just immediately grabbed us, and it just felt fresh, and in much the same way that Jean-Michel Jarre affected us. When I started hearing electro, I was like,
again, it's like future music. When you hear something different, it's just like, wow, this is just, it's future music.
It is, and it was for me, the whole street soul thing, especially in the UK, was fantastic. There was an element of familiarity to it. Anyone that had listened to kind of soul and funk and disco and stuff like that, but at the same time, with the 808s, with the patterns that were getting put down, it did feel like you were listening into the future. And this was like, this is exciting, especially, like I say, 8, 9 year old, going, wow, what is this,
Tiny little Blaps, absolutely loving the tunes that are on.
Absolutely loving it. Wishing I had some money to buy a Kappa tracksuit.
Amazing. Well, let's go with that one. So this is Sandy's early influence, and this is I Feel For You, Chaka Khan.
Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan. Chaka Khan, let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, that's all I wanna do. Chaka Khan, let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, let me feel for you. Chaka Khan, what you tell me what you wanna do? Do you feel for me the way I feel for you? Chaka Khan, let me tell you what I wanna do. I wanna love you, wanna hug you, wanna squeeze you too. And let me take it in my arms, let me feel you with my charm, Chaka. Cause you know that I'm the one to keep you warm, Chaka. I make it more than just a physical dream. I wanna rock you, Chaka, baby, cause you make me wanna scream. Let me rock it, rock it. Let me rock it, that's all I wanna do. Chaka Khan, let me rock it, Chaka Khan. Let me rock it, got the feel for you, feel for you.
To you.
Classic there from Chaka Khan. That's I Feel From You, from the self-entitled album I Feel From You from 1984, released on Warner Brothers Records. Chaka Khan's just one of those that sort of transcends time to me. Like
she does, and she's got a new track out this year that's amazing. It's been getting a lot of airplay. She just constantly, just such a beautiful voice.
Yeah, that's it.
A tune that was written by Prince actually as well, I Feel For You, and it was one of the first tunes that kind of got us into Prince, and I discovered more and more of these tunes that I was picking up on, going, oh, who's actually writing them?
Yeah.
Oh, it's Prince, you know. So that was a big deal. In fact, actually, when Prince passed away, I kind of put up a thing about how that had been such a big influence to us. And Chaka Khan retweeted it, and Chris the Glove, who was the DJ in the video for Chaka,
the turntablist.
Yeah, he actually got in touch, and we're now Facebook buddies, and I get shout outs from Chris the Glove, which, you know, I mean, it just blows me mind, because you know, like from 8-year-old and looking up to all these guys, and you know, isn't the internet a wonderful thing?
I think one of the things with Chaka Khan is obviously she was relevant back then in the 1980s, and she's still relevant now.
Well,
even look at like 2007 she did that massive tune with De La Soul.
De La Soul
ain't no good.
Ain't all good.
Ain't no, that's
See,
true.
like now when we did some work with De La Soul here, when they did the 20th anniversary of 3 Feet High and Rising, they came here and we actually got to work with them. We did a graffiti project, and we reinterpreted artwork from the album, and got to sit with them and chill with them. Really nice bunch of guys, and they've signed my copy of that. So, but it's not framed yet, because I'm waiting till I meet Chaka Khan. I want her autograph on that sleeve.
It'll just complete that record, won't it? It will. Amazing. So we'll use that nice little thing into a segue into section 2. After you'd been influenced early by digging through your dad's pile of records, even the dusty ones at the back, when you started finding your own feet in the world of music, what music was it that you went out and grabbed early on?
Well, towards the end of the 80s, I was kind of like picking up on lots of different bits and bobs, but the stuff that got us really excited were these mixtapes that I was kind of sort of getting handed down from, you know, older friends or older brothers.
It's definitely a recurring theme of like older brothers, older siblings, people's friends
handing down
tapes.
Yeah.
Well, have we had a podcast that we haven't mentioned cassettes yet?
No, probably
no, we haven't.
No, hopefully we'll manage to get all the way through.
That's a big thing. I loved it, and you know, you had these tapes that you loved so much. You would wear them out, and you would like end up having to take the cassette apart, take the spools out, and then rehouse them in a new cassette box and screw it all down. Or if it got like jammed in a machine, maybe you're gonna have to splice it and use a bit of tape to stick it back together. But
that noise, the nightmare noise when it had jammed it.
But what never happened was a tape go, all right, that tape's chewed up, throw it in the bin. No, that never happened. If that tape, you loved that tape, it was getting fixed.
Yeah.
Or no matter what.
The hours I spent unspooling it and then putting it all back together and just make sure every bit was like just flush and flat.
Then getting that pencil in to make sure it was nice and tight before you can,
We were saying you get the Bic pens, the old ones that are the exact right shape. You could spin them like a maraca around your head.
So I mean, that was a really big influence. I was getting a lot of these tapes, and I was hearing like bands like Man Machine, and you know, a lot of stuff like from Havana. You know, people like Hooligan X and stuff like that.
Yeah,
these were all kind of like big influences. You know, and I started again that whole concept of feeling like these tapes were almost like a window into the future, and you were hearing something. And you know, to put it in context as well for anyone that wasn't around at that time, there was nothing like it. This whole dance movement was something that was completely new and exciting. So your parents, you know, your grandparents, they had no idea. The terminology was new, the fashion was new. It was something that, you know, it was exciting to be part of. And these tapes and these tunes, you know, were just, you know, just phenomenal impact.
Yeah. So what type of music was mainly featured on the tapes that ended up in your player?
So, I mean, our bleeps and breaks, bass lines, house, that was kind of what I was listening to. By the time we kind of like hitting 1990 into 91, we're talking Warp Records primarily. That was the label.
Legendary label.
That's an absolutely monster label in the UK, Warp Records. Obviously the home of Aphex Twin.
Aphex Twin, LFO, Nightmares on Wax.
Weirdly Maximo Park.
Oh yeah.
Well, the first gig I ever got as a DJ paid was actually in Sheffield, and I couldn't wait to finally go to Warp Records, and you can imagine my disappointment as I'm expecting to walk into some kind of like cool basement kind of record shop that's full of people blasting out sort of bleeps and breaks, and to find out it was predominantly CD and very much run by indie kids. It was like not what I'd expected at all. But like still, you know, props to the label and to the shop. It revolutionised the UK scene. It's
still better than when I went to Rotterdam to go to Rotterdam Records and found out that it had been shut the week before and it was just an empty building. Very disappointed.
Yeah, man, that would be an absolute gutter.
So on these, again, the stuff that come through Warp as well, like the more bleeps and bassy stuff is the stuff that you were into, or?
Yeah, the sort of bleeps and breaks. I mean, again, like, you know, on the periphery, I was still kind of picking up on a lot of UK hip-hop. Hadn't really sort of started buying a lot of the US hip-hop, although elements through the sort of street sounds and electro stuff that I was listening to. So, you know, I wasn't unaware of rap music. But a lot of the UK stuff kind of resonated a lot more, and so I kind of found labels like Shut Up and Dance and stuff like that, and it was just really exciting for me. And of course the Blaps posse, you know, and these crews that were kind of, you know, mashing it all together. So you had the acid house, you had the ragga thing.
So
you had the
would you consider that hip house at the time?
I wouldn't have called it hip house. It was rougher than that. Hip house was quite sort of clean and polished, and all. I would have said the Ragga Twins and, you know, Shut Up and Dance and, you know, acts like that. They were more raw. They weren't as quite as clean as the hip house stuff.
Yeah.
I think some of the hip house stuff actually I probably was less keen on, even though it kind of still kind of followed that thing. There was like that raw energy. You listen to sort of, you know, all that kind of East London kind of early stuff from sort of late 80s, very early 90s. It's just got a rawness about it that I loved. It kind of felt like, you know, at the same time as having that, oh, this is, you know, we're looking into the future, it also felt attainable.
Yeah.
It felt like, you know, you could do this, you know.
Yeah. The sort of stuff that wasn't overly produced. It sounded like it was actually coming out of the corner of your room.
Exactly.
Rather than someone who's been in a studio with all the padded walls and stuff like that. Yeah, I totally get that. I totally
Made
get
with
that.
love, not money.
Yeah. Well, this is like the key element of the music scene, isn't it, really? The ones who are in it for love are the ones that'll stay longer than the ones who are in it for money. So again, if we had to round this category off and pick one tune for this section, your Finding Your Feet section, what tune are we looking at? Maybe something off of Warp?
Yeah, I think we'd stick with Warp because that was a big label for us. Tough little unit, were, you know, cracking, got quite a few tunes, and it was hard to kind of pick really. But I guess I'm going to go with Master Plan because there's just elements of that tune that kind of demonstrate all the things I'm talking about, but also it's kind of got that. It starts off with that whole mantra. You know, it's the music first, the genre comes second.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really powerful message. And so, like, you know, again, as a young person, very young, kind of finding my way in this music, that was a kind of one of those statements that stayed with us constantly. You know, and to this day, if someone says, "Oh, what kind of music do you play?" I say, "Good music."
Yeah.
You know, doesn't matter what genre it is. You know.
I think too much care goes into subcategorizing and genreizing music these days.
That there's that much splits in music scenes now that you can't have a genre 5 minutes without it being split into another 5 other genres.
Yeah, it's mental now, and I can understand it to a degree, but I've got no objection to people kind of, you know, creating, you know, labeling stuff, as long as that doesn't become what it's all about. You know, if it's a case of just, if it makes it easier to find the tunes you're looking for in a record shop, then maybe it's not always a bad thing. But if that's all it becomes about, and, you know, people just want to put everything in a box, then it starts to make everything a bit stale, really, doesn't it?
Yeah. All right, great. Well, that was category number 2, and Sandy has picked Tough Little Unit, Master Plan.
But for me, it's the music first. The style comes second. If we do set a fashion trend, fine. The music comes first.
Right, brilliant. And as we said before, that was Tough Little Unit Master Plan. That's from the Join the Future EP from 1991 on Warp Records. That sort of sound just like it still plays out today, doesn't it?
Yeah, but it's also like you were saying, like it's very much that cut and shunt type music that could be made in the corner of your room. It's like the very start of sampling, almost like it's definitely rave sampling where it's just, everything just feels nice.
Yeah, that's Addie segueing in as well. You know, you'd think this was planned. So let's move into section 3, Addie.
First rave memories. How you've got to have just a massive amount in there, like.
Well, I guess like so as we're kind of hitting like 91, 92, the resurrection comes to Newcastle to the Mayfair, and a real life changing moment for me really. So 91, I would have been 14. So I was kind of struggling to kind of, you know, am I going to get in? I'd managed to get into a few nightclubs around town.
The constant fear, am I going to get turned away at the door?
Well, I was getting into like the Roundhouse. I don't know if anyone remembers the Roundhouse in Gateshead back in the day.
Oh, yes, I do actually. I've never been. I remember seeing it from the outside.
Well, that's the first nightclub I started going to, mainly because I could get in at 13-year-old wearing my school uniform, so minus the tie, obviously, but you know, back then,
I love the heat,
but back in the day, like mainstream clubs, that was what it was. It was dress pants, white socks, smart shoes, shirt. You weren't getting in jeans and t-shirts and stuff like that. It was the rave and the dance phenomenon that brought that. In much the same way, the dance floors were totally different. You went to a mainstream club, late 80s, early 90s, you know, it was kind of like chart music, as was then. So, you know, rock and pop, you know, there was like different sections in the evening. If you were lucky, you had a cool DJ who kind of knew what was coming. You might get a little dance half-hour mix halfway through the night, but other than that, you're probably getting everything from Bon Jovi to Pet Shop Boys. You know, it was kind of
very much school disco vibes.
From something so bad into something so good. I just can't abide Bon Jovi, but Pet Shop Boys are amazing. So like, do you remember your absolute first rave?
Yeah, I mean, Resurrection, that was when I finally started to get going. We'd kind of like tried to sneak in a few times. Those that know will remember you could get around the back, you could kick the fire doors in.
Not that we condone that sort of thing.
And you could sort of run straight down and you would be on the dance floor. But I didn't get
mixed into the crowd before
the doorman even knew what was happening. You were with your hands in the sky and lasers coming down, and it was all good. But now the first time I really got to go kind of with and do the whole thing in more ways than one was January 1992.
Right.
And Res 11.
Who was on that night?
So Shades of Rhythm with
nice.
And I think Top Buzz, Face. I don't know. I haven't got the flyer in front of us. I'm
trying to think back. So I had a lot of those old Res flyers. Not that
we'll have a look, and if we can find the flyer, we'll post it in the comments.
I'm thinking Nipper or someone like that.
Possibly, actually, yeah, it might have been Nipper rather than Face. I'm not sure. Obviously, Bass Generator.
Big up Guy.
And Sneaky Eye as well.
Big up Sten.
And those guys, they were a big influence on me growing up.
And me.
So like I say, sneaking into these clubs, 14, 15-year-old, those guys knew who I was. I'd been buying records in the shop, and I felt safe. There still wasn't an environment where I felt that there was much danger. Obviously, older and wiser, that there was elements of danger there, but for the most part, I stand by that initial feeling that most of the people in those clubs or in these raves were full of love.
Yeah.
Well, they were full of MDMA.
Yeah.
So by default, they were full of love.
Full of that false bravado that comes with those lovely warm ecstasy jackets.
And I was actually in a heavy metal band at the time.
Hey.
And I kind of sort of come down and I saw what was going on, and I've been struggling for years to try and find I want to do music. What am I going to play?
Your thing.
And I couldn't. Nothing really fitted. I could play guitar okay. I could play a few bass lines. I couldn't really. I struggled with keys. I wanted to sing, but no one else wanted us to sing. And so I was really struggling to find my way. And then I saw these guys on these turntables, and I was like, right, this
I could do that.
So I sold my guitar and I bought a set of decks, Sound Lab belt drive.
Oh yes.
4-channel Rock Lab mixer.
Rock Lab though, there's a name I haven't heard for a long time.
No, so I miss it. I was like tempted to try and see if I could track one down. I did find one on eBay. Oh yeah, maybe I'll still reinvest in one. But it had one of those little. Do you remember those novelty keyrings you used to get with all the little sound effects on, sort of like a machine?
Yes.
And all this sort of stuff. So I thought it was well cool, dropping all these little sirens and bomb effects.
That sounds fucking awesome.
No, that's the thing. I've been looking for an app with a decent air horn in, so I still make a better one with my mouth. So, like, on that first night, you're out in the dance floor. Are there any, like...
Hands in the air, full of pingers.
Well, I mean, the standout moment has to be, if anyone who went to Res, they'll know that they used to play the Old Spice music.
Karma Barama.
And I'd never so I wasn't prepared for this, and I'm like, I was, oh God, how old, like maybe 15, and everyone I was with were like, 18 and older, and knew what they were doing. They'd been to a few. And this guy says, come with me, right, let's get you up on the podium. I'm going, I'm just starting to get used to this idea of dancing in with 2,000 other people. And I sort of remember getting pulled up on this podium, and anyone had been to the Mayfair, I remember it was kind of split level, so you had like, the dance floor was on the ground floor, but then there was like another sort of terrace level that went round. And I was stood on this podium, and this tune drops, and everything stops. It's like time just stopped.
Mid.
And this music comes on, and all I can see is a sea of smiles. Everyone's just happy, and then this green laser sort of came down, and I just automatically, instinctively, just found myself reaching up, and my hands were going higher and higher. And as I'm looking up, I can see people above on the terrace looking down, smiling and reaching, and like just stretching, trying to like make that is it Michelangelo when God and Man made just trying to almost just
creation,
touch,
isn't it?
Yeah. touch the fingers, and just an absolute standout moment. And just thought, wow, yeah, right, I'm home. This is what I've been looking for. The whole thing, walking around, and every time you're going up a set of stairs, there's lasers scanning you. So it went from like kind of like listening to these tapes and thinking I was here in the future to actually all of a sudden I'd stepped into the future. I was there, and it's kind of like. I was kind of living in a Terminator world with laser scans and
the future of music was happening around you.
Amazing.
Yeah. So what tune was it?
Well, the big tune for me, I think, that I'd like to pick from that era is Night Riders, Let the Music Play, the 92 hardcore mix. The original's a phenomenal tune as well.
Yeah, the hardcore mix by NRG.
Love NRG. So many absolute anthems, like.
No, not the. It's
the 92 hardcore mix.
The 92 hardcore mix, not by NRG. Just amazing tune. It's got everything for me. It's got those like sort of trippy little vocals. It's got bass lines. It's got pianos. It's got everything that you could want. Just always brings back memories. There's so many good tunes from the time. Newcastle loved its hardcore, so there was like stuff like the Tingler, Smart Systems, all that kind of stuff that I could have easily said, but for me, I'm going to go for that one.
Yep, sound. Sandy's first rave memory, Night Riders.
Let the music use you.
We're going to do some freestyle for y'all, and it go like this.
there we go. That was Night Riders, Let the Music Use You, 1992. I believe the album, well, the label, sorry, was
FFRR.
Freedom.
Yeah, I mean, that was for the UK release, I'm guessing.
That's the UK, yeah.
They would have,
Yeah, that's the UK one, and that's what I've got written down in any case. So, moving straight on from rave memories, we'll move into the next section, section 4.
Festival memories, isn't it?
Festival fever. So, what type of music gets you ready for some outdoor noise, Sandy?
Well, I think, so for festivals, for me, the route I found into festivals was coming from the raves and the warehouse parties into the free party scene.
Yeah.
So kind of as we moved, into the mid-90s now, I joined a sound system called the Hostile Sound System, and I spent a lot of time travelling around doing various free party kind of stuff on traveller sites and what have you. All got cattled obviously when the criminal justice
bill. Fuck you Tories.
Which was, what was that, 95, and I think 96 where I did the Newbury bypass protest festival party. We went down and they were building a big bypass just outside of Salisbury, and initially we'd gone down earlier for the summer solstice, and we'd pulled up at Stonehenge, and the busies were just all over us. And it just said, lads, if you even step out this van, you're all under arrest. So it kind of got shifted on, and then one of the guys had said, look, there's these guys are sort of protesting this bypass, should we go down, should we give them a party for a night? We're like, yeah man, let's do it, So we went down to this site, and it was there was a lot of people living in trees, some people made tunnels, and people in tents, and they were just kind of trying to stop the guys from digging up this beautiful, beautiful area to make yet another motorway. And we thought, right, yeah, these are nice people, let's get involved. And so this one night party ended up turning into a 3-day non-stop thing. All the DJs, we were doing 7 to 8 hour stints on the decks. By day 3 I was absolutely hammered, and this guy just kept coming up asking if he could have a set, but with my records, because he didn't have any records. And I kept saying, obviously on your bike.
Yeah.
But then by day 3 I was just like, yeah, whatever, get on the decks, I'm not arsed anymore, I need to go and lie down. And we walked outside this marquee we had set up in time to see, just police pouring down from everywhere, and all got shut down. I got a caution under Noise Abatement Act.
Yeah.
And thankfully hadn't been behind the decks at the time, because the young lad who had been badgering us to get on the decks the whole time was actually arrested. Even though he had nothing to do with the sound system.
Just by proxy.
Just bad timing that I'd let him go on the decks, and then he's one behind the decks when the police came in. But it wasn't too bad. No one got properly done. No, we got all the equipment back. But it kind of sort of signalled the end of that whole sort of free party period. And we started to move more into the festival vibe. You had Glastonbury and stuff like that going on, which had a really good vibe. It was still kind of had that DIY kind of feeling. It was still
before it got commercial in the 2000s.
That's it. And then, but quickly as the 90s progressed, I actually kind of fell out of love with the festivals. I just kind of felt that they became very corporate, and it was just a way of kind of trapping people and making sure that they bought overpriced bottles of water and hot dogs and stuff like that. And
highly sanctioned fun.
Yeah, and it just kind of felt stale, For me, festivals and parties, what made them exciting, there was a little bit of danger to them. There were a little bit, people were throwing these things together, and that kind of all went. It just became very sanitised, and so I kind of fell out of love with it, really.
When things all started being sponsored, instead of having a bar, it was the Orange sponsored bar, and the stages were. It was the Lost World stage, brought to you by O2.
Everything was sponsored. Yeah. We did a few things outside of the UK, by 97, 98. Was kind of rolling with Hidden Agenda and the OCP crew. We did a few sort of festival-y type things over in Europe. The biggest one was probably the Queen's Day event in Amsterdam, where they have a big party to celebrate the Queen's birthday. It's unreal, man. I took a photo from the stage, looking up the dam rack, and you cannot see anything but people. If you wanted to get from one place to the other, you had to wait for an ambulance and then run behind the ambulance, because that was the only way you were getting through the crowd.
Use the die-hard technique, get in behind and use the ambulance as a blocker.
Just mental. But the UK-wise, the festival scene for me kind of died, and I wasn't really interested. It wasn't until 2005 when I started working with a guy called Tom Robinson, aka Fridgeman,
Big
aka
up, Mr. Fridgeman.
He'll be on soon.
And he really kind of reinvigorated us. I mean, I wasn't even DJing again at this point. I was a single dad. I was just concentrating on studio work and trying to like set up projects and charity stuff, and ended up working with Tom. And Tom was like, no man, look, you know, there's all this stuff going on, you know, people are loving the tunes that you love, you know, people are loving the drum and bass, the jungle, the hardcore breaks. And he persuaded us to go out, and we started doing forest parties and, you know, stuff like that again. And that's when I fell in love with it again. And then again, Tom was a key person in introducing us to events like Beat Herder.
Yeah.
And started to go and going, actually, do you know what? Started to realise there was festivals again that were out there that were about, you know, obviously people want to make money, but at the same time that were about what the vibe should be.
And that's just gone full circle, because Tom has actually just played at Beat Herder, hasn't he? He just, like, he'd been fighting for years to get his set on his favourite stage at Beat Herder, and that's just happened. So, you know, these things are still actually rolling as is. And big up Tom. Tom did a lot. Tom reintroduced me to a lot of rave as well. We ran a few raves down at the Cooperage when it came back for its like third or fourth coming, before it was eventually.
Well, that's how I got to know you, and you know, you guys were pivotal in getting us back out there. Really, when I became a single dad, I was kind of like, well, do you know what? I've had my time. You know, the 90s were a fantastic decade for us. I got to work with so many people, so many of my heroes I got to work with, and I kind of thought, right, you know, like, mint box ticked, let's move on, let's grow up. And then I met all you guys, and I was like, oh no, actually I don't have to grow up. I can keep having fun.
Just keep raving forever. Hardcore will never die.
Yeah,
remember that, kids?
We'll always be like that, won't we? Like, that's we're still on the rave now, and I'm 35 and
41.
Yeah, that's it, exactly.
I'm
so
42 tomorrow.
Well, there we
happy
go.
birthday
There you go.
tomorrow, mate.
There we go. So, when you were pushed back in the direction of festivals, what sort of thing was it that sort of you enjoyed at these festivals?
So I think festivals for me, I like to think of, you know, sunshine, and crowds of people.
Yeah.
And when I start thinking that, I'm thinking jungle, I'm thinking drum and bass, I'm thinking them uplifting tunes.
Yeah.
Big heavy breaks, big heavy bass lines.
Yeah, big popular hooks for everyone to sing along to.
And that was always, for me, if I'm sitting in the sunshine, if it's a barbecue, I want to be chilling with some good hip hop.
Yes.
If it's a festival, I want to be listening to some drum and bass, and maybe some stuff that kind of falls in between. Like I remember actually mentioning Beat Herder, seeing Barocca Samson Stemmer, they're unreal.
Yeah.
And actually it was lush. It was the first time I'd got to take my daughter. It was her first festival as well, so she got to see them. And that kind of, not exactly drum and bass, but they had that energy, you know, they had that kind of like just...
They've got that worldy vibe, don't they?
They do, but you've got to just jump to the music, you know. You don't even have to have any sort of defined moves. It just makes you want to bounce. And to me, if you're in a festival and a good tune drops, what defines a festival for me is that moment where everyone's linked together, and just jumping, and it's just that kind of like euphoric wave of, you know.
It's that moment when you're in a crowd of people and one smile turns contagious and goes to 2, becomes 12, becomes a couple of thousand people all smiling because of the same tune that dropped.
Yeah.
And that's just something really cool about that. It's one of the things I used to love when I went to festivals. I mean, I'm a bit over festivals. I'm at the stage you were at a while ago. I can't be bothered with tents and stuff like that, but I do sort of miss that vibe.
What you need is Tom Fridgeman back in your life.
I'm
like I say, I'm 42 nearly, and I've struggled with tents now. I can do them for a night or two, but beyond that, obviously involve a Lindisfarne festival.
That's right, yeah. Now. Speaking of festival moments, Lindisfarne Festival, and, I believe this comes out the weekend before Lindisfarne.
So the last weekend of August, start of September, every year we have the Lindisfarne Festival. We're into year 4 now. It's just growing and growing and growing. We had like 1,000 people the first year, 2,000 people the year after, 3,500 last year. This year I'm expecting 5,000. It just keeps
apparently
growing.
the whole of Newcastle's going.
I hope so, you know, I hope so. It's a beautiful location, it's an amazing lineup, it's a great vibe, but I'm with Gav on this one. I couldn't do it in a tent. I have to confess that I now, when I'm doing, obviously as one of the organisers, I'm there days before and days after everyone else, so a camper van and electrical hookup does me the world of good.
There you go, they're the little bits of luxury that I think I'm just too adapted to go to festivals anymore. I can't be bothered with slumming it on a deck and stuff like that. I suppose if I had the influence that you had, I'd have myself a caravan.
And of course, places like Bangface as well. Big shout out to James, you know, and the Southport weekenders as well, you know, different style of music altogether. But that idea of being able to go with thousands of people and sharing that kind of experience and sharing that love of those types of music, but doing it from the comfort of a chalet.
Yeah. Even though the chalet, in the very loosest sense of the word comfort, but still, there's hot running water, there's electric, and it's not on the floor.
There's something about being able to charge your phone, wash your bollocks, and just generally be able to change without being doubled over, like being in a tent doubled over, trying to put on another UV rave suit, like doesn't.
I'm like nearly 6'4", man. I can't get changed in a tent, man. It's not happening. Everyone's got to get out the tent, start strolling.
And if you try and pull on a jacket, you end up twatting someone at the other end of the tent. So how to boil it down to just one song?
It's got to be Barocca Som Sistema, really, just because it kind of that marked a point in time where I kind of, you know, fell in love, but also not only for me, but also to be able to share it with the next generation, to have my daughter there.
That's such a nice moment.
As a young teen, and for her to be able to kind of like go on, just to see that look on her face and see her go, wow, you know, and she's never having been in that experience before, and to see that energy, and again, just to participate in that bounce. So one track that maybe made you fall back in love, that you're happy that she fell in love with? Got to be Hangover. If I'm going to pick one of theirs, it's just that ba 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 ba, and I just love it. It just gets stuck in your head.
So it is. You can hear the smile creeping on his face, can't you? Like you can hear it creeping across. Right. Okay. Amazing. So Sandy's festival moment. Ironically, this is Hangover. was the apparently Angolan Baraka song Sistama Hangover ba 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 from the album Comba from 2011 on a record label that I just don't even want to try and pronounce that. Enshufada.
You're going to butcher it no matter what you do. You're going to butcher it.
Oh, I've butchered it. Oh, that's definitely happened. So we'll move on to one of my favourite topics. This is the shared discovery topic. This is where we take a moment so Sandy can share with everyone someone who you may not have heard of or someone that he thinks everyone should be listening to. So, Sandy, who should everyone be listening to?
Right, well, yeah, I don't know. I feel like a bit of a cheat on this one because it's not really a discovery in the traditional sense of the word, but rather someone that I grew up with and someone that I still to this day feels massively underrated. It's a guy called Raj Panu. A lot of people in Newcastle will know who he is, but surprisingly, a lot of people in Newcastle still won't know who he is.
Yeah.
And he was a big influence on me growing up. We're roughly the same age, and when we were kind of sort of 15, 16-year-old, we used to kind of like hang out together and play. He was a lot in hip hop, and we used to go and sit and have little sessions and play tunes. I used to drive him insane by turning up with a bag full of Dream Frequency and stuff like that. And,
Nice though.
Sounds amazing.
So yeah, Raj.
So Raj, I mean,
In fact, I'd love to see Raj Purdue play Dream Frequency.
Trust me, his missus would love to see him play Dream Frequency as well.
Well, we'll go.
So yeah, he's a very, very humble guy, and so I think it's important that people like myself, if we get the platform to talk about stuff like this, we should talk about him because God knows he won't talk about himself, and he really should do because, you know, we started the journey together, but whilst I was quite happy just to be partying and I wasn't really ever taking things too seriously, he really took the time to hone his skills, you know. He took the time away, he was approached it, you know, very sensibly, very sober, and, you know, and he wanted to understand how the music worked. Yeah. And he dug into it in a far more intellectual level than I ever could or did or anything, you know. And so there was a period of a few years where we weren't necessarily hanging around as much, and then kind of when we sort of reconnected, the difference was astounding, and to see what he could do and how he could put sets together. Now, don't get us wrong, there's some great turntablists in Newcastle. I want to give shout out to, you know, Dynamic, Sadiqa and Peg, so I believe he's already done one of these.
Yeah, he was on 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, there's some fantastic DJs out there, but Raj just really he always stood out a little bit for me because...
Absolutely blew my mind the first time I saw him.
And the versatility of what he can play, how he can play, you know, and formats as well. I mean, this guy, you know, it was no surprise to us doing parties in the 90s when visiting acts, you know, like Cash Money and stuff like that would come into the Newcastle, and Raj would be the warm-up, and they'd go, right, you're coming on tour with us.
Yeah.
You know, it didn't surprise us. We were like, that should be happening all the time. Why is this not happening more often?
Yeah.
And it kind of felt for years and years and years, and, you know, even now it feels like he's the musician's DJ. You know, those people who really at the top level, who understand music, they gravitate towards what he's doing.
Yeah.
A few years ago, you may remember I did a bit of a naughty party in a location in Gateshead and brought LFO, Jez Varley up.
Yeah.
And Jez, obviously, you know, LFO, wow, do you know what I mean? Talk about pioneers.
Yeah. And
when Jez met Raj for the first time, he was like in awe. He was doing the whole "we're not worthy" thing to Raj because of the Old Grey Whistle twist, which was a piece of video that the BBC commissioned Raj to make, where he effectively did a video remix of all the old 70s stuff. So there's like Budgie and Bill Withers and all this, and Raj made a kind of like video mashup of it. But it's, you know, it's unbelievable, and his talent is so phenomenal. He's got a few records out there. He's done a few things. Obviously, he was the tour DJ. He was effectively, you know, a major part of Cold Cut for a number of years. And again, there's, you know, you can't say Cold Cut without thinking huge UK pioneers.
Yeah, synonymous with quality in the UK.
And there was Raj, the one doing the cuts, the scratches, all this live, you know, not just audio but video as well, and doing live video cut-ups and stuff like that. One of the first person I ever knew to use the Pioneer DVDJs and stuff like that, you know, and still pushing it forward with the technology. He's introduced me to Rumble packs and all kinds of stuff. He's always looking what's the next thing that's going to like open up.
Staying ahead of the curve.
Yeah, and just so fascinated by music and its application. He's just always on the cusp of the new technology, and I've just got so much respect for him, and just find it like almost kind of heartbreaking how little a lot of the general public seem to kind of be about him. And he's got a long history of live music, DJ performances, and recorded music. More people should be listening to him. He's phenomenal.
Yeah. So if people want to actually discover some more of Raj's stuff,
where would you go?
Yeah.
Well, he's currently got a track out on Me, which is the record label run by Man Powers, who is based in Mexico, I think now, but is actually a Geordie originally as well.
Right.
So Me, I mean, it's a great label in general. Check out Me. They've got, the likes of Edmondson and stuff like that. I've all had tunes out on there. It's a phenomenal label. Raj has got a track out there on the moment called FSOL. Brilliant piece of music. Also, we've had some of these tracks out through the Ghetto Method. My crew run the Dubtronic, series for 5 years. There's a few tracks by Raj on there that are really worth checking out. There's stuff out there, but first and foremost, if you don't know the name and you want to know what he's about, get yourself on YouTube, search Old Grey Whistle Twist.
Yeah,
that's the one.
I'm going to go home and put that in. Old Grey Whistle Test.
We'll put links on there when it comes out.
Yeah, Old Grey Whistle Test is one of those absolute... I love Old Grey Whistle Test, and I can sit and watch that Bill Withers performance, or there's just so many amazing ones. Edgar Winters and Focus and all of these amazing bands who, like, through the Old Grey Whistle, like the Focus, for example, through the Old Grey Whistle Test, they actually sold out of the entire run of albums that they did in the UK. The day after Old Grey Whistle Test went out, they sold out across the whole of the UK.
Amazing.
And the record company had to shut down doing all of the other pressing they did and just press Hocus Pocus by Focus because of the Old Grey Whistle Test. And it's just one of those things that's phenomenal with British music. I think Whispering Bob Harris going amazing, like under his voice as well, which is another one of those ones. So we've got a link here to one of Raj's songs via Bandcamp as well. So you can go to ghettomethod.bandcamp.com/track/Rag Panu and then the name of the track. So Sandy, what track have you picked?
I picked Pamphilius. It's one of the ones that I was fortunate enough out of a selection of tunes that Raj presented to us, and I was just like, won that one. and that's the one that went on the album. There's other tracks by him on the other albums, but for me, this is the one.
Cool. Well, this is Raj Panu. This is Mr. Mudfoot Blaps' shared discovery. This tune, I believe, is from Dubtronics 5.
Yes.
This tune is from Dubtronics 5, he says confidently. This is Raj Panu, and this is Pamphilius. Is that how you pronounce it? Brilliant. That was Raj Panu. That was the shared discovery given to us by Mr. Mudfoot Blaps. And again, we'd just like to remind you that you're tuned into the On The Rave.
On the Rave!
Addie, where can they find you?
It's everywhere. Well, not everywhere, not yet. iTunes is pending. Spotify, couple more shows. It's coming. But YouTube, On The Rave. Podbean, On The Rave.
Facebook and Twitter.
Yeah.
On The Rave.
On The Rave.
Addie's just forgetting that he spams you all on Facebook and Twitter.
Constantly.
All the time. Like, it's Addie doing that. It's not me. You'd recognise me. I sign mine with a kiss. In any case, we're going to move on to section 6 of our little questionnaire.
You never guess what, Gav?
What's this?
He's only going to play the wild card.
Eventually I will
Double
get...
done. 2 and a wanna.
2 and a wanna. Eventually I will get a little, like, not a real air horn because it'll just blow up anything. But yeah, so this is the arms in the air moment. This is the moment where a track is so good.
And you get 2 of them, you lucky bastards.
Where the track's so good that it's made Sandy reach for the ceiling.
He was earlier as well.
He was, exactly.
He was.
Like, he's already been reaching for the ceiling in this
not
one.
quite the ceiling, but more of the upper balcony.
The
upper balcony of the Mayfair.
You can tell I've got my right guard on today, lads.
Amazing. So Sandy, what sort of tune makes you just whip those arms in the air?
Well, I mean, obviously, as an old school raver,
Yeah.
you know, you can't beat a good piano breakdown.
Definitely
We spoke so much about how piano's
especially
amazing.
the first 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And I think like the older I get, the more I kind of gravitate towards that, because it's not just, you know, back in the day it was the sound and the euphoria that came with it, but now it's the memories that come with it as well. So when you hear those old piano breakdowns, there's just like decades of love coming, like rushing through the body, and you can't help but respond. So there's loads of tunes like that from back in the day. You know, I could be here forever, like listening tunes that make us tingle.
Yeah.
You know,
there's one after another that reel them off, and we spoke about how piano just, it tickles you all the way to your spine and makes you wave
It's
your
just
arms.
lush, just lush.
There's
It's a good piano break, and it's just like
Yeah.
Sometimes
you couple that with a good bass line as well, so you feel it, and you've got this like kind of double thing going on.
Yeah.
Nice sound system. Oh man.
I see you want the feels and the vibrations in
Yeah,
your
I want my belly to rumble, I want the hairs to stand up, and I want the tingles to go right the way up my arms.
That's the one.
That's what I...
Yeah. So what sort of track is it? You've selected 2 for everyone to listen to today. So why don't you go into a little bit about the first track you've selected?
Well, yeah, I mean, there was a wild card option there to be had, so I thought, well, you know, this was the section that I struggled the most with, trying to sort of tie it down just to one track.
Yeah.
I think we were the same, actually. I you picked Gold, but I was very much, whoa, what am I going to do with this one?
Well, I think because over the years, I mean, obviously I'm well known for playing the old school hardcore, and that is obviously a big love of mine. But, you know, also what kind of gets forgotten sometimes now is, you know, how important dubstep and kind of that emerging scene was to me as well, and what my involvement in that was. So kind of like, you know, in the sort of late 90s, into the sort of early noughties, I was playing a lot of like underground garage. I was part of Ammunition, which was the crew that, you know, arguably were behind the birth of dubstep. So there was like me, I was the furthest north in the crew. We had Oris J in Sheffield, we had Davey aka Zed Bias in Manchester,
Right.
And then Youngster and that down in London, and Youngster's sister Sarah, she was with EMI, and Oris kind of linked us up with them. So I was getting all these tunes, you know, and then by the time I was doing stuff with Kiss FM, not on the radio, I was doing the events for Kiss FM.
Yeah.
I was playing a lot of two-step, but I wasn't really into the vocals. It was all white labels I was getting sent, all promos, and every record came with Vox and dub.
Yeah.
And I like the dubs, you know, and because I kind of grown up that culture of hip hop and jungle and drum and bass, I like to work with an MC, and sort of play the sort of the dubs it just felt more natural to me. It meant that my relationship with Kiss didn't last too long, because they were kind of keen for us to play the vocals. They were also very keen on playlists, and you know, alright, tonight we'd like you to play Craig David 4 times, and it just kind of got to a point where I was like, this, you know, you've got to be enjoying what you're doing. Not just, it should never be just about making a paycheck.
You can tell when something's a bit forced like that in music.
So I kind of sort of stepped away, but you know, I think the last kind of dubstep mix I did was around sort of 2008. But I stayed loving it, and I love what dubstep did for production. I think dubstep's left its footprint across, you know, everything from kind of like EDM to just everywhere, you know. But again, why? Breaks and bass lines, isn't it? You know what I mean? That's what I love.
Yeah.
So I mean, the tune that I've picked to kind of reflect that area isn't necessarily a straight up dubstep tune. Maybe it's a little bit different to that. Maybe it's also kind of reflecting a little bit of my earlier days in the 80s when I was kind of like loving electro and street soul.
Yeah.
I think this tune kind of encapsulates everything that I've talked about today, you know, from the jazzier elements to the breaks to the bass lines, to that feel-good factor. This is a tune that even now, I mean, just the other day, I was sitting on the bus with a random sort of like selection playing, and this tune popped on, and I found myself sitting on the bus like, you know, a middle-aged man, and I got a little shuffle on, I'm getting a bit of a boogie on the bus. It's one of them tunes you can't help but move your arse to.
Right.
It's a belter, and it works as a warm-up tune when you get in the crowd there, give people a bit of a flavour, it'll get people going, it'll get people excited. Equally, you know, as a closing tune, it's a lush one to finish on, it just brings it every time. It's a phenomenal track. And so yeah, I would like to go for my first option.
Yeah.
2000 F. You Don't Know What Love Is.
Yeah, amazing. That's Kosh. So this is the first of 2 tracks being selected.
2 and a 1.
For Sandy. This is the first of his Arms in the Air moments. This is 2000 F. There we go, that's 2000F, that You Don't Know What Love Is. I had a quick look into that. That was released on an EP called Did You Design You Don't Know What Love Is? The other side featured a track by a guy called Joker.
Yeah.
And that is on Hyperdub in the UK.
A Hyperdub, just a fantastic label as well. If you don't know them, check them out. Joker as well. I mean, what a 12 to have, you know, those guys on either side.
Yeah, banger on either side. The Joker tune on that one, if you're interested, is called Digi Design. Amazing. So, the very nature of the wild card means there's another choice to come.
Cards in the air yet again.
So, for your double dose of Arms in the Air moment, what would you like to play for your second Arms in the Air moment?
Well, for my second one, and I've really kind of got to go to, you know, my first love, which is, you know, the breakbeat hardcore.
Yeah.
It's the kind of sound that defines me, I guess, as a DJ and as a performer. And there's so many great tunes out there, but I really, really, really had to go for this one for a number of reasons. It's 0B. Anyone that knows Rave knows this tune, knows this EP. You know, everyone from Slipmatt to, you know, who, you know, the godfather of Rave, to every DJ. I would guarantee this is in pretty much all of their top 10s.
It's an absolute anthem.
It is. It's an absolute anthem. And what a lot of people don't realise is it's a Geordie anthem.
Yep.
You know, a lot of people, because of the sound and because how different it was to a lot of other stuff that was going on up north at the time, there's a massive presumption that this was kind of a London tune. Even the guys in the game who, you know, were caning it, presumed that this was a London tune.
Yeah.
And it's not. Billy is a North East guy. He represents, and he represents to this day. He's a lovely guy as well. He's really passionate about the music. He's really passionate about, you know, supporting people as well, and he does a lot of kind of stuff. I just can't rate him enough. He's just a lovely, lovely guy.
Yeah.
And for years we've been talking off and on. You know, I've been really keen. He's always been kind of part of one of them, you know, wish list. You know, if I could put together a dream lineup,
yeah,
he's always been on there, but he doesn't play out. So it's kind of always like, this is a lineup that's never going to happen. But if it could,
yeah.
So if I could have 0B, if I could have DJ Seduction, it'll never happen. But then lo and behold, this year things come together.
Stars aligned.
And yeah, so this year at Lindisfarne Festival for the Friday night party, we have 0B, we have DJ Seduction.
Coming out of retirement just to play at Lindisfarne.
Well, Seduction only does a couple of gigs a year. He's really, really picky, and he just loved the vibe of Lindisfarne. Obviously, a few people have already played there. He's heard about it. He wanted to get involved. He wanted to come down. And Billy, again, just, you know, I've been blagging him. Billy's also has a band that'll be performing there as well.
2 in 1 again.
So, but yeah, it has to be 0B Lock Up. It's just such a phenomenal tune. And I got so many great memories for that tune, from the Raven days to Ibiza, you know, everywhere. It's a tune that just does it every time.
Amazing. So, for his second choice for the Arms in the Air moment, here is Sandy's wild card. It's 0B.
Lock Up. Oh my gosh, that's a fucking classic.
Oh, there we go. That was Zero B, Geordie Boy with Lock Up. We were just discussing, that was actually released. Discogs was telling me 2002, but Sandy, you say it was more 1991 even.
Yeah, I'm sure 1991 for the module EP, and I think FFRR with the sort of general UK release in 92, but I'm no gospel on that, like, so I might be wrong.
Yeah, here's me thinking Discogs would actually have the right answers.
No.
So, yeah, never mind.
Bill, if you're listening, give us a shout, tell us where I've went wrong.
Yeah, and of course you can all go and catch Zero B at Linden Song Festival, which is next weekend as this comes out.
If you see me on the floor, pick us up, prop us up against something.
You'll be wrapped in an On The Rave blanket.
Yes.
Actually, shouts to UEP, actually one of the first ever performers on the dance tent, which was a new addition in year 2. And Addie, you joined us for the 50 Shades of Rave. I'm not sure if you remember joining us for the 50 Shades of Rave.
Very sketchily.
This man can DJ in like any condition.
He can't. He played an absolute blinder. He played a few records 2 or 3 times.
Yeah. To be fair, it wasn't my chosen. If I had some vinyl, that was probably the most nervous I've been DJing, because I was like, I've never used CDJs before in my life.
Yeah.
And then someone filled us full of pingers while I saw fucking hip hop array.
Oh dear, amazing. So we're rolling on to category 7. This is the dedication section. Did you hear that? I got it right.
Hey.
I got it right. You see, it's like all this mumble rap that comes out where it's just mumble gav. Mumble gav. DJs often get asked to play tunes, but don't often get the chance to dedicate a track to an individual. Clean, simple. Sandy, do you want to play a track for someone?
I'd love to play a track for someone. I'd love to play a track for someone who I don't get to really play that many tracks for. Someone who's been a big part of my life for a good few years now, and someone who's helped support us, and someone without whom I probably wouldn't have the capacity or the courage to do a lot of the things that I do now. So I would like to pick a dedication for my lovely wife, Mrs. Blaps.
Oh, you're going to play it too? Right, amazing. So what sort of music do you listen to with the lovely Mrs. Blaps?
Well, Mrs. Blaps has possibly one of the worst tastes in music of all time.
Worse than Addie's dad?
Yeah.
It's got to be good, someone.
So, yeah.
Is she listening to Elkie Brooks like my mum and dad?
That would potentially be a step in the right direction. She has, when we first got together, I just despaired at the selection of CDs in her car. It was just god awful. Apart from she had one CD that was really cheesy and awful, but for some reason it had Sound of Eden, Shades of Rhythm on.
Oh, in the middle of the track.
So that was on repeat, and that was very nearly the dedication tune. I was very close to saying, picking that one. Also, the first time we ever had an argument was at Regeneration when Shades of Rhythm were on.
Oh, right.
That was our first ever argument, which ended up lovely. You know, if you're growing up, you realise everyone argues sometimes.
Yeah.
The problem isn't finding someone that you don't argue with. The problem is finding someone that you can make up with.
Yeah.
You know.
Bit of love and life advice from Sandy.
We're all human. We're all going to fuck each other off at some point in time. You know, the trick is finding someone that you care enough about to make it right.
Amazing.
And I did. And so the tune I would like to pick is one of the memories from our wedding. It's actually our first dance. So,
lovely.
Nice.
Right. Okay. So what was the first dance?
Well, the first dance was played by our wedding DJ, Mr. Mark Archer from Alternate.
Hi, Mark.
And he played one of our favourite tunes together, which is Delegation, Oh Honey.
Yeah, no, I had to listen to this and was just like that. It's such a lovely soul song.
Nice.
We wanted something, you hear so many weddings, you hear a lot of like kind of soul music, you hear like Let's Stay Together and stuff like that,
Let's get it on.
There's just too many, beautiful, beautiful songs, but predictable.
Yeah.
And predominantly American.
Easy choice.
Yeah, so we thought, well, we really want that kind of like, we really want that Marvin Gaye kind of, Al Green vibe.
But without going for the obvious choice.
Yeah, so Delegation, UK legends, really kind of beautiful, song. And just the perfect one for a smoochy first dance. So I would like my dedication to be for Louise, aka Mrs. Blaps, and I'd like to pick Delegation or Honey.
That was Delegation or Honey, and that was the special dedication from Mr. Mudfoot Blaps to Mrs. Louise Blaps. It's a nice little moment.
It's lovely. I've got a tear in the eye.
We like to have these little moments, you see. Not only do we give you wisdom and complain about tapes every week, but we'll give you these little moments as well. Speaking of moments and pleasures, it's that time again, and it's time to start talking about the guilty pleasures in music. Sandy, I know you love a lot of music. Is there any of it out there that you've got a real guilty pleasure for? He's smirking. You can't hear it, but you can see that massive smirk on his face.
I mean, again, I've got to say, like, I've never took life too serious, and I never took music too serious. It's got to be fun. It's got to be bouncing. So there's loads of stuff out there, especially from when I was younger, and maybe it's a bit more innocent, that I felt it was okay just to kind of like lose myself in. So Marilyn Monroe in particular was a big thing for me as a kid growing up. I had a couple of cassette tapes and I absolutely loved you know, those songs I can probably still sing most of the Marilyn Monroe songs off the top of my head. I know the lyrics.
And not just Happy Birthday.
Not just Happy Birthday, no. But I think a lot of kind of, possibly inspired by my dad, a lot of the kind of sort of hippie era music as well. I love the Woodstock cover that Matthew Southern Comfort done. Right. It's a big tune for me, and one if I'm feeling kind of like stressed out, it's one I'll go to. I think it was is it Geordie Mitchell who wrote the song? Was it Geordie Mitchell? Anyway, the original it's great, but it's the Matthew Southern Comfort version that I really love. And in a similar vein, Jimi Hendrix. I like a lot of Jimi Hendrix. If I'm feeling stressed or whatever, I'll kind of go Crosstown Traffic, Soul Food. These are all tunes that just kind of like just mellow us right out.
Yeah.
But no band more so than the Doors.
Oh, I absolutely love the Doors. A part of my life, like people who know me well know me this, part of my life where I actually thought I was the reincarnation of Jim Morrison.
Do you know, you're not the first person to tell me that?
Yeah, apparently it's a common thing.
Yeah.
I thought I was so individual. Again, it's me just not being individual at all.
The guy I grew up with when we were teenagers was so convinced that he actually began to look more and more like Jim Morrison, and would only answer to Lizard King. That was it.
That's amazing.
That was it. But yeah, I mean, like, you know, Jim Morrison, I mean, great guy, arsehole as well.
Yeah. Do you know what it is? I'm actually in the midst of organising a trip to Paris. I'm going with my beautiful girlfriend Steph to Paris, and one of the main reasons I'm going is I want a picture of me next to Jim Morrison's grave. There's just something about...
You can't tag there anymore though?
No, I don't intend... I intend to leave respectfully, you know, just with my photo and probably a lump in my throat. Yeah. There's a lot of the music that he does that I just absolutely like. It still brings a tear to my eyes when I hear Running Blues.
Yeah, it's the poetry of his lyrics. I mean,
you can do a degree in it.
I feel like I'm contradicting myself now because for the most part in my musical journey, the lyrics have kind of almost been less important. It's been about the rhythm, it's been about the breakdowns, it's been about the bass lines. But actually here I am saying that, you know, one of my guiltiest pleasures is Jim Morrison, and, you know, whether it's through the Doors, whether it's his poetry, stuff like that, and actually because of the language that he uses, you know, like...
he's poetic.
It's just amazing the way how he describes stuff, you know, and it's kind of... you feel like you're halfway between Wordsworth and Lovecraft.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like you feel like you're in this kind of like the hall of the ancients. You know, and the great ones are looking down at you, and just the language that he uses and the way that he expresses himself. And it doesn't matter what the setting, whether it's a really sort of like, you know, if you listen to the Doors, I mean, they cross a lot of genres within themselves.
Absolutely, they've got like cowboy sounding stuff, and
bluesy
swing
kind of
stuff, and then they've got the more sort of soundscapey stuff like LA Woman, which builds all the way up and gets orchestral.
LA Woman is phenomenal. But yeah, I guess for me, the guilty pleasure, the one that I constantly go back to, is Ghost Song, and again, just it's, you know, even within that one song, the journey is quite phenomenal. To really kind of like almost dance grooves, to them to kind of like ambient and just spoken word and poetry. It kind of encapsulates all that. There's not many tunes I can think of that kind of hit me on a number of levels, and this one certainly does.
Right, cool. Well, I've got absolutely no complaints with this at all. This is Sandy's guilty pleasure. It's something that I listen to on the regular. So this is the haunting but beautiful Ghost Song by the Doors.
Awake. Shake dreams from your hair, my pretty child, my sweet one. Choose the day and choose the sign of your day, the day's divinity. First thing you see. A vast, radiant beach and a cool, jeweled moon. Couples naked race down by its quiet side. And we laugh like soft, mad children, smug in the woolly cotton brains of infancy. The music and voices are all around us. They croon, the ancient ones, the time has come again. Choose now, they croon, beneath the moon, beside an ancient lake. Enter again the sweet forest, enter the hot dream, come with us. Everything is broken up in dances. Indians scattered on dawn's highway bleeding, ghosts crowd the young child's fragile eggshell mind. We have assembled inside this ancient and insane theater to propagate our lust for life and flee the swarming wisdom of the streets. The barns are stormed, the windows kept, and only one of all the rest to dance and save us with the divine mockery of words. Music inflames temperament. Oh, great creator of being, grant us one more hour to perform our art and perfect our lives. We need great golden copulations. When the true king's murderers are allowed to roam free, 1,000 magicians arise in the land. Where are the feasts we were promised?
And as I say, like I genuinely, for a part of my life, thought I was the reincarnation of Jim Morrison to the point where
So did I. Twice, once.
It's like, you can't have nothing for him, can you? I actually went and did a performance under the influence, thinking that I'd be able to do it better and channel him. And I got an A-star in that performance, and our band finished top of this Battle of the Bands. We'd been predicted to finish bottom, and I full-on channeled Jim, and this is exactly what happened. And that's why, as much as it's Sandy's guilty pleasure, I'm more than happy to play the Doors on the On The Rave podcast. We're winding down to the last couple of questions, so I'll just remind you once again that you can catch us on Twitter at On The Rave. There we go. On Facebook, On The Rave. On YouTube, On The Rave with Addie and Gav. You can catch us on Podbean because we are powered by Podbean.
And remember, like, review and subscribe.
Like, review, comment, subscribe.
Falling over my words today, Gav, now.
Well, that's it. Yeah, we've swapped positions for this one. Right, we've only got 2 choices left by Sandy. We're going to roll straight on. It's question 9. Addie picked Lenny D.
I did.
I picked David Bowie. Sandy, who's your GOAT? Who is the greatest of all time?
I mean, there was no even any hesitation for me with this one.
Me too.
We're on the rave. That's the vibe we're on.
Yeah.
You know, I'm talking about my journey. Who's been the biggest influence? It's got to be Mark Archer.
Yeah.
Yes.
He's already been name-checked in this discussion.
And in every show that we've had so far.
Yeah.
And for so many reasons. I mean, first of all, music. Let's talk about the music. This is a guy who has been behind some of the greatest dance music
of all
time. You know, obviously everyone knows Alternate, but then you've got like Nexus 21, you've got Bizarre Inc., you've got Trackman, you've got Zen Mantra, you've got the DJ Next EPs.
Yeah.
You've got so much different stuff, you know, from house, early bleeps, you know, hardcore, jungle, drum and bass, techno, you know, everything, slow motion, Bells in New York. What an amazing legend. Tune, the breakdown in that, the hip hop mix on that. And if you ever get a chance to hear some of his hip hop production, phenomenal. I mean, this is a guy who grew up on hip hop and street soul, and it's our shared love of street soul that really kind of caused the friendship and how we got to know each other. And that's why he was my wedding DJ. He played not an alternate set, he played all the street soul, electro stuff, you know, which is just perfect party tunes, you know.
Yeah. And as we've mentioned in other podcasts, we recently got a chance to go to the 30th anniversary. Right here in the SAGE. We're actually at the SAGE today recording this. And you managed to you were on stage introducing the guy and bigging the crowd up, so...
Well, yeah, I mean, that show was a labour of love for me. It was something I'd wanted to do for a while. I'm based at SAGE Gateshead. It's a phenomenal venue. And I really kind of wanted to bring something different to the venue that hadn't been done before. I mean, there's been kind of dance music events here, but what I brought to that event was the spirit of 91.
Yeah, it was a full-on rave.
It felt like the Mayfair.
Yeah, it did.
To my you know, and being on stage and getting to, you know, toast a little bit on the mic for them, also to DJ a little bit for them. You know, it was a dream come true. It's something I've wanted to do for a long time. Mark is a phenomenally humble guy.
He is.
You know, I mean, I've been fortunate enough to meet a lot of my heroes growing up, heroes and heroines, and you know, for the most part, I would say they're all great people. You know, people say don't meet your heroes. I've met some arseholes, but that's been the minority. Most people have been. But Mark isn't just a nice guy. He is just one of these people that literally will do anything for anyone.
Yeah. He's actually like, he's not just a nice guy. He's the epitome of nice guy, I think.
He is. He's just got such a big heart. He's so humble, and it's just, you know, it surprises me. Here's a guy who has played all the way around the world to some of the biggest crowds, dropping some of the biggest tunes, and yet, you know, you could be in a bar with 50 people, and someone comes over and says, "Oh, nice mix, mate." He's over the moon, and he's just like, you know, he genuinely loves to make people happy. Whether it's by, you know, through the music or just by being an all-round good human being, Mark is that person. And, you know, in much the same way that I picked Raj as me sort of discovery thing, is here's another person that is too humble to shout about himself. Yeah. We need to shout about him, because Mark struggled for years with when you know, because he was predominantly known as alternate, that there was a period of time where he wasn't getting gigs, and I couldn't believe it. I was going, but you're Mark, aren't you?
Yeah.
You know, how are you not getting gigs? But he's just such a humble dude. You know, he needs to have people. He's fortunate to have good people around him, including his missus. Big shouts out to Nikki.
I love you, Nikki.
Oh, she is so good. Like, big shout out to the Geordie Minges.
An awesome human being, and the sort of person that Mark needs, because Mark needs someone to shout about him, because Mark will never shout about himself.
Yeah.
He's far too humble, and yet, like, you know, he's got a back catalogue that tells the story of my life.
Yeah, I mean, we were again just. Well, we can't get away with doing one of these podcasts without mentioning Bangface, but we happened to be at the Bangface when Nikki and Mark got married on stage, and I know that you actually got to go to the wedding itself, didn't you?
Did, yeah. I mean, an absolute honour to have been asked to do this. So, like, you know, Mark was at my wedding, I got to be at his wedding, and then we got to go and do the thing at the Bangface in the evening as well, which was just phenomenal. And I think for many of you guys, probably the first time you've seen me actually dancing,
yes,
with me white gloves on,
yeah,
in the midst at the front of the dance floor.
What you'll normally see Sandy standing at the back of a rave, observing everything that's going on. But
I'm normally at the back of the rave, panicking, making sure, oh God, was a cable missing? What's going on here? How many people are outside? What's going on with them? Do we need to let some more cold air in here?
Yeah. But at the Bangface, you should have seen with gloves. He let the proverbial hair down, had the whistle in his mouth. It was
magical moments.
It was a magical moment. So, if Mark Archer is your GOAT, what one tune would you go to for people who may not know who Mark Archer is.
So this is the irony. It was very easy to know who my greatest of all time was, but to pick a tune by him.
One
It's a
tune.
hard choice.
Tune. I mean, like, you know, so many of the tunes that we've mentioned, you know, not to mention, I mean, Activate.
Yeah.
And Activate is a special tune for Newcastle as well, because Activate, the Vic's Vapor mix, that's a shout out to the Resurrection, that's a shout out to the Newcastle crew, because it was when he came to play, I think the Resurrection 4 or 5, was only like the second or third gig as alternate with the full boiler suits and the masks, and they were struggling with the masks, and then as Geordie's filled the masks with Vicks, as we did at the Mayfair. That was the done thing, and so I mean that tune's a special one, a special tune for any Geordie ravers. Slow Motion, like we've mentioned before, the DJ Next EPs, you know, so much good stuff. But yeah, I'm gonna stick with alternate.
Okay,
and I'm going to go with Underground, and I'm going to go with the DJ Next 8 till 8 mix.
Yeah.
The fabulous tune, just from the very beginning. It just encapsulates the era for us. I love it. It's alternate. It's produced by Mark Archer. It's remixed by Mark Archer. It's 100% Mark Archer, and that's why I love it.
Amazing. So, Sandy's GOAT, maybe predictably for people who know him, is Mark Archer. That doesn't let us down. That's Mark
Not
featuring.
Not at all.
That you've featured on all 4 of these podcasts, mate. Like I said, next time you're in town, Mark, you're a shoo-in to come and sit down and have a chat with us, I think.
Definitely.
Yeah. This is Mark Archer, Underground, the DJ Next 8 till late mix.
Are you down with the underground? Underground. 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 underground? Are you down with the underground? Underground. Are you down with the underground? Underground. Are you down with the underground? Underground. Are you down with the underground? Underground.
Great, and again, that's another Mark Archer tune. That's an absolute banger. As we said, that's Underground. I believe this is we're trusting Discogs again, but that's from the Everybody Remix EP from 1993, which was released on Network Records.
I would say that sounds
Spot on.
Yeah, you know they can't actually get it right. Sometimes it sounds like on this on this Discogs website. We're down to one, lads.
Last one.
Yeah, we're down to one. So, this is the last section. This list of choices has been selected by DJ Mudfoot Blaps, Mr. Sandy, who's sat across from us now. And the closing question we always ask is, Sandy,
what's your personal anthem?
Yeah, I mean, it's a no-brainer for me, really. It's got to be LFO.
And back to that label warp?
Back to the label warp. And again, it's a question that gets asked a few times, and people say, like, what's your go-to anthem? And I think it's got to be this for me. It's as near perfect tune as you can possibly get. It is phenomenal. It's and if you play it in a club now, it still cuts off. It's still cut. It's just so ahead of its time, and just a perfect piece of music. It's one that, like, not only means something to me, but over the years has grown to be a tune that people associate with me. I'm not quite sure why. It's not like I don't really play it out a lot in my sets. It's more one that I have for home listening, a tune that I love to listen to rather than play out. But so many people seem to associate with us, and then friends that I used to go out partying with I won't see for years, and they'll be in a rave somewhere, and that tune will drop, and the next thing I know, I'm lying in bed in Gateshead and my phone's going, and someone's like, man, Sandy, listen to what's playing, and it's always LFO. So it's by default, it's kind of become a tune which people seem to associate with me, and now I associate with me as well, just because of that fact. And it's amazing. Never got to meet Mark Bell, rest in peace, but I've become good friends with Jez. So I have a signed copy of the 12,
nice.
Which sits above me turntables. It's a really special tune. I don't think anyone can fault it, and if they do, I'll beat them up.
Way! There we go. Threats of physical violence from the worker here. So, Sandy, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the Rave podcast. If you're listening, as this is going out, Sandy's going to be. Are you going to be performing at Lindisfarne Festival?
I'll be joining in with the shenanigans for sure. I might be doing a little bit of painting, doing a little bit of DJing, and also joining the 50 Shades of Rave farm for a closing set on the Friday night.
Right,
Nice.
amazing. So, if you make your way up to the Lindisfarne Festival, go and try and find the 50 Shades of Rave.
With the High Tide dance area, we'll be running that for 2 days.
There
We'll
we
also
go.
find us in the Circle of Inclusion with the Detox crew, and big shouts to Earl Grey.
He's doing a lot of work, like a lot of work.
I mean, Earl Grey is an absolute legend. Someone that I've got to work with in recent times, and there's not many events I'd like to do without him now. He's such
definitely
a top
somebody
dog.
who will be getting on the podcast.
He's another humble one, Richie, as well, isn't he?
He's a humble guy, and the thing is, what's one of the best things about him?
He looks like Sideshow Bob.
Is if he. Well, no, he's
had him shaved off now, but I'd like to
We're
throw that
solving
one in
alternate.
there.
But he's
Even
one of
though
them
he's dreads
people,
anymore.
if he says he's going to be there,
Oh, he
and
will.
he says he's going to do it, he will be there, and it will be done. You can guarantee that. His word is his bond,
Yeah.
and I love that in the guy.
Amazing. Cool. So, these have been the choices of Sandy, Mr. Mudfoot Blaps. This is his personal anthem. This is LFO.
LFO.
Wait, hey. Amazing. So, once again, thanks everyone for tuning in to the On the Rave podcast.
On the Rave!
Guy over to the left here is Addie, Addie and Gav, Hi-Viz. And as always, with the On the Rave podcast, we are going to close with something scientific for everyone. So, from Addie's scientific bag of mischief, what's mixed up in the text tubes?
I'm not going to fuck around this time, like, because we've got time is precious.
Yeah.
I'm going to just hit you with a fucking scientific sonic spam hammer of a fucking tune. It's mixing a bit of Old-Skool with a bit of fucking banging forward to the floor and some breaks by one of the most progressive DJs of Well, I've known him for a long time, but his new productions are just out of this world. And check out his album on Prospect. It's Moby Go the Dolphin remix.
Amazing.
Slamming.
That is actually available as a free download at the minute via the Prospect Recordings. You go onto the YouTube page and you can get it for free.
On the flip side of it, it's his remix of Moby 1000.
So there we go. So this has been the On the Rave podcast. We are saying goodbye until next time.
And we are officially off the rave.